Hello, future people. Welcome to Getting Tabled. I'm Jason the Bruce. Today, I'm here to introduce you to a video that Michel has recorded for us. Because today, Michel is going to take a look at the new rules for Dropfleet Commander version 2. Michel's actually had this book for a little while now. I want to make a special thanks to TT Combat for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, they could have very easily said no to Michel. When he asked if he could record this for us, they could have said no, because they have no obligation to say yes to this. They allowed him to record this early. They gave him permission to show us this 2 weeks before release so that we would have time to edit this and I could do what I need to do in order to get it out to you on time. And they had no need to do that. They could have just forced us to wait until I received my order, or until Major Socks gets his order, whoever had it first. Couple things I want to touch on in this. At a couple of points in the video, Michel will accidentally use the wrong wording when he's describing things, and accidentally use terms in the original version of the game. At every point where this happens, I will make a little notation down the bottom to try and correct this. Apologies. That's just something that happens when you've been playing a game for a long time. The other thing is that you will notice that Michel is largely using the old bases from first edition in this video. The reason for this is quite simple, is because he doesn't actually have all of the bases for the new edition yet. However, watch this space. I will personally be recording a comparison video between the old bases and the new bases. So I will be doing an in-depth discussion about what was old and what is new and how they actually look physically in your hands. I've already seen what you're about to see. I am very, very excited to hear what you guys have to say. I can already tell you that I like what I hear. That should tell you a lot. So I will throw to the intro, and I will leave you with Michel until the end of the video.
Hello folks, I was asked to do a video about Dropfleet Commander 2nd edition. I've got the booklet for some time now, been going over it. It's a nice booklet. It has plenty of details in it, but the lore book that's free to download has even more, and it connects together really nicely. Today I've been asked to talk about ground combat. First, let's talk about the change in sectors. There used to be sectors. You ignore these now. You can place things in there called features. But the main thing is the center. That's where you measure to everything. And the same goes for space stations. You see they've been altered a little bit, but not a lot. The safes have been made the same as the ships have now. So how does ground combat work? Well, you place tokens. It used to be one of these four, but these are gone now. You still need them for special missions, but the main focus is the battalion. Everything drops battalions. And when I mean everything, things got added. There's boarding pods and drop pods now. And they affect different layers. Just like the drop ships in the bulk landers used to do. But now there's a little bit more flavor to it. But they all drop battalions. But of course the difference is a strike carrier drops one. And a nice bulk carrier usually drops more, which of course makes perfect sense. So when do you drop battalions now? That's being altered a little bit as well. So say you move up, you finish your shooting, and then you drop, and it measures towards the center. So these all stack up, but you may choose to land on something called a feature. Something defending a feature is separate from the rest of the drop zone. During your turn, you may add more. So say this one comes in and it adds an extra battalion to the drop zone. But the enemy can do the same. But this carries bulk landers. These were drop ships. If there's already an enemy presence there, you need 2 bulk landers to drop 1 battalion. So in this case, the Chimera carries 4 bulk landers, so it could only drop 2. And this then continues throughout your turn. So here's my San Francisco coming up. Because there's now a Scourge present there, it can only drop 2 out of its 4. And this continues until the end phase. That's when you will resolve combat. And how does it go? Quite simple. These can attack each other. These could choose to destroy this one. But these may not help here because they are locked into the feature. And then you just remove 1 for 1. So these would be removed. And this. And that one. Leaving the UCM in control of the drop site. This makes it very quick and elegant. You can choose to either defend the drop site or a feature, focusing on that. So that's where your placement comes into. But there's no more rolling, there's no more combat, it's just removing 1 for 1. But say an enemy dropped that feature, or you don't like that feature because it gives a bonus in the mission to the enemy. What can you do to remove it? Well, there's always, of course, orbital bombardment. But say you really beat them solid. And there's 4 of your battalions there. Then at the end, you finish combat. This is what's left. Now you may choose to remove the feature and the battalions that were on that one feature. I hope you guys enjoyed that change in ground combat for 2nd edition of Dropfleet. Stay tuned, like and subscribe as always.
Again, thank you very much to Michel for recording that for us. And thank you for TT Combat for giving him permission to do that. Because again, they didn't have to do that for us. They really didn't. They were under no obligation to do that at all. A couple of reminders. Again, we will have a comparison of the old Dropfleet Commander bases versus the new Dropfleet Commander bases. There is actually a little bit more to this conversation. I think a lot of people kind of ignored the bases when they came out because, I like what I've got. And we kind of felt that way as well. So I think this comparison is very important. However, I want to talk about this video. In particular, ground combat. From the very first moment that Dropfleet Commander launched and games started to happen, ground combat was one of the things that people pointed out that just didn't work. Dave himself has also said this on multiple occasions. This hasn't just been a subject that we've hounded on because we were picking on them or something. Like, it's been a fairly open discussion that this is a part of the game that's never worked. A couple of times we've discussed on this podcast, like ideas that we have on how to fix it. On the previous episode, on the previous podcast, the Hot LZ, we discussed it a number of times with like, hey, maybe we could do this to try and fix it and do that to try to fix it. And we weren't alone on that. There was at least 2 other podcasts at the same time trying to have that discussion as well. Personally, I don't think any of the discussions that's happened in the past have been as good as the solution that they've come up with. This is really simple, and I mean that in the most positive way. Time will tell, obviously. There may still be parts of this that don't work. I don't see them yet. I think this is a much more simple and well-rounded design. I mean, everybody loves rolling dice, but you don't always have to roll dice. I think this just works. Having multiple ships and those multiple ships having played a level on what you get down onto the ground, that really works. And one overpowering the other. It just works. It adds a layer of strategy that just isn't there right now. And removing the dice doesn't take away from the strategy. I would argue that there's probably more strategy in the way that it's laid out now than what was actually existing in the longer version of this. So I'm very, very excited to see how this goes. The game needed a proper new edition. We finally have that. This is the point where we can all be excited to see this game that we love grow again. I'm very, very excited to see how this goes. I hope everybody is supporting the game. Like I said, this video will be going out live on the day that the pre-orders are over. So those of you that haven't placed your orders already, now is the time to do that. Thank you again to TT Combat. Again, you really didn't have to say yes when Michel asked if he could record this for us. We really, really appreciate it. And we're very, very grateful that we finally have a second edition. This is extremely exciting. And I hope that you guys are all feeling that too.